Hi everybody, hope you're well. Loads of moms have recently posted on social media about how much the kids are eating and that feeding them is like a full-time job. They're constantly hungry, they constantly want feeding. So I thought I'd pop on here and explain reasons why they might be hungry all the time and then just give you some tips and advice on how to keep them fuller for longer. So when we eat carbohydrates, so things like bread, pasta, rice, fruit, cereals, cereal bars, they get broken down into sugar in the body. You get two different types of carbohydrates. So you get your refined carbohydrates and your unrefined or complex carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates are things like your white rice, your white pasta, white bread, cereal bars, high sugar fruit, fruit juice, dried fruit. So when we eat those, they get converted to sugar really quickly. The release of sugar into the blood is quick. Compared to your complex carbohydrates or your unrefined carbohydrates, they have fiber in them. So the fiber slows down the release of sugar. It's much harder to digest the fiber, so the release is more gradual. So if I just draw you a picture for you. So if we're having your refined carbohydrates, so your white pastas, white rice, the blood sugar levels rise really quickly. If you have your unrefined, it still gets converted to sugar, but at a much steadier, gentle pace. So when your blood sugar levels get to its peak, the body will send messages then to take the sugar to where it's needed, and then blood sugar levels will decrease. It will dip. And when you get to this point, this is where the kids come to you and you say, Mom, I'm starving. Mom, I want some food. I want a snack. But they're also really irritable, moody, and this is where you often have the tantrums. What do? We give them some sugar to tide them over. So breads, crackers, biscuits, boom. But they get converted to sugar really quickly. So the rise will be really quick. It will get taken to where it's needed, and you have that drop. And it's this roller coaster that we need to be aware of. And this can take really quickly. So you give them cereal for breakfast and then half an hour later they say, I'm hungry. It's because that conversion to sugar is so quick. So what can we do? How can we slow it down? So I gave you a tip earlier. I mentioned fiber. So fiber slows down the release of sugar because it's hard to digest. But other things we can add is fat and protein. So fat and protein don't get broken down into sugar. They get broken down into other things, but there is no release of sugar in the bloodstream. So, and they are really hard to digest and they take much longer to digest, so you will be fuller for longer. So if to balance your meals, add fiber, protein and fat to your meals and snacks, and you should be fuller for longer. So if we just take a look at breakfast. So a lot of people for breakfast, they have cereals and they have it with semi-skimmed milk. Then, or they'll have toast, either plain or they'll have it with jam. There'll be a banana in the mix somewhere, and there'll be some flavored fruit yogurt. So cereals, I'm not the biggest fan of cereals just because there is so much sugar in them. It's more a dessert really than breakfast. And because it's with semi-skimmed milk, there's no fat to slow down the release of the sugar. If we're looking at toast, often it's white toast. And then if it's plain, it's just sugar that's being released. But if it's with jam, the sugar content in jam is really high. So it's white toast with jam. It's a big sugar hit. Even if it's with brown bread, it's still a sugar hit. Bananas, I have nothing against bananas. I'll explain a bit about bananas later on. But the yogurts, most of them are fat-free, so the fat's been taken out. And if you're taking something out, you have to put something back in to make it taste good. So they put loads of sugar in there to make it taste nice. So what do I suggest for breakfast alternatives? If you need to have cereal, have low sugar cereals, so Shreddies or Weetabix, but add something to it. So add ground flax seeds. You can get ground flax seeds in the shops quite easily. That is made of, it's just a seed, so it's full of healthy fats and fiber, so it will slow down the release of the sugar from the cereal. But add wholemeal milk. So we all freak out with full fat milk. but we're happy to give our kids crisps. So full fat milk only has 4% fat compared to crisps that's got 11% fat. And there's loads of added nutrients to whole milk as well. Toast, if you're having toast, try have wholemeal toast. And then good toppings can be nut butters. So nut butters is full of protein, it's full of healthy fats that the body doesn't make and needs to get in from the diet, but also really high in fiber. And then other options are porridge. A lot of people think porridge is only for winter, or they think it's boring, but you can add things to it to make it more exciting. So I always add ground flax seeds to mine. I always add a dollop of smooth almond butter or a nut butter to it, so that will slow down the release, because even though it is a carbohydrate, even though it's a complex carbohydrate, it will still get converted to sugar if it's just on its own. So the flax seeds or the almond butter will add some protein and fat and fiber to that. But I add cinnamon to it. So cinnamon is great. Cinnamon I add pretty much to everything. But cinnamon is a natural sweetener, but it also helps to slow down the release of sugar in the bloodstream. But then for kids, like, make food fun. So put cocoa powder or cacao powder. So there's nutrients in raw cacao powder. And then they're having something chocolatey. So they think it's a treat. And then you can sweeten it with honey or maple syrup. Just beware they're high sugar, so just be aware of how much you are using. Smoothies are really good, so just beware of how much fruit you're adding, and don't add in fruit juice to blend it. Use either water or milk, or a milk alternative. Add some spinach in there, nut butters, nuts, seeds in there, just to slow down the release of the sugars. And then eggs. Eggs are great, really quick and versatile. You can have dippy eggs with wholemeal bread. You can have scrambled eggs, poached eggs, egg muffins or omelets, and get the kids involved. Help them, teach them how to crack an egg, teach them how to whisk the eggs. So that's really good, and those are some good breakfast options. And then what do I suggest for snacks? Low sugar fruits, so berries that are in season now. There's loads of berries available. So the berries are low in sugar but really high in fiber. Apples, pears, and have that with some nuts. If you can't have nuts, obviously don't have the nuts. And if there's small children, just beware of the choking hazard. Hummus is amazing. It's really high in fiber. There's some protein in there as well. You can either have it with some vegetables, chopped up vegetables, or with some breadsticks. You do get wholemeal breadsticks. If you can't at the moment, then just use normal breadsticks or crackers. Just talking about fruit and vegetables, just have things out on the counter so that kids can reach for them. I always have cherry tomatoes on my counter and a fruit bowl. Offer the healthier food first, and then if they're still hungry, then they can have something else. Olives, I know it's a bit of an acquired taste, but some kids really do like olives, and they're full of healthy fats and fibers, so that will slow down the release as well. If they haven't had eggs for breakfast, boiled eggs are amazing. You can make loads, just keep them in the fridge. They're really easy to eat. Crackers, just don't have crackers on its own. Add some butter to it, or nut butters to it. Cheese, cream cheese or cottage cheese, or oatcakes are a really good alternative with either nut butter, hummus, or any of your cheeses. Popcorn's really good as well, but not the ones that you're putting in the microwave. They really have unhealthy fats, or not the ones that are coated in sugar that we can buy. But I'm talking about old school, like buying the kernels. And if you have a popcorn maker, that's great. But try doing it on the hob. As a kid, I have fond memories of making popcorn. That excitement of hearing that first kernel pop, and then you're almost too scared to lift the lid because all the popcorns are going to explode. Now I'm going to do a video on that because I was really surprised at how few people have actually made old school popcorn. So that's a really good snack as well. Popcorn is really high in fiber. So I hope you've all found that useful and interesting, and I hope it helps. Get in touch and let me know. I'm also happy to make recipes if you want some recipes. Just give me some feedback. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you soon. Bye!